Hello! I have so far done 2 other sit-down videos talking about color in interior spaces, and the comments of those 2 videos are filled with folks talking about what colorful projects and what ways you all have used color in your home. Recently, when I've been going on Pinterest, I've been inundated by AI images and AI interior design. I used to use Pinterest as a primary means of inspiration, along with Instagram, to see what people are doing and how people are using color or designing spaces, but now just with AI taking over so much, it's a little bit depressing. It looks like there's no real life in the space. It just looks, honestly, it just looks soulless, these AI images. Sometimes it can be hard to tell the difference between a real space and an AI generated space, but I'm pretty good at figuring it out. I'm pretty good at telling, and I want to see what real people are doing in real spaces and what is really possible. I don't want to see a computer generated image of something that's not true to reality. I don't want to see a place that has never existed. I want it to be inspired by real people creating real spaces like you guys. So that's why I posted on my community page on YouTube and on Instagram. If you don't follow, this is the Instagram. But my Instagram started as an art page and then it morphed into an embroidery page, and now it's, I don't know what it is now. So thank you so much to everyone who submitted to my email and to my Instagram. And I don't know if I'll get through all of the images in this video, we'll see. I asked you what you have been doing in your home spaces that is a sort of colorful project, definitely leaning a lot into color. If you've seen my other videos, you know that I am a little bit averse to keeping things really muted and too white or gray or beige. I'm not saying I dislike those colors. I think using them is wonderful. Like obviously, you know, the curtains in my living room are cream colored. A lot of the trim, the ceilings, you know, are white. So I'm not against these colors, but I think that there has been a trend in like house manufacturing and real estate agents, people selling their houses, people flipping houses, people converting things into rentals. There's this theme of making everything sort of builder grade, grayish, looking minimal, looking clean, and removing character, and color plays into that a little bit. So for this video, I'm just going to be discussing what you have sent over to me in your spaces, and I'm just going to look at each space one by one and just talk about the things I like. So this is only positive feedback. No negative feedback in this video for these spaces. Even if they're not something that I would have done, there's still things that I'm going to see in them as things that will inspire me for future projects that I'm doing. Before I get to the photos that you all have sent me, I'm gonna just show a couple spaces that I do interact with in my daily life or my real life around me, that these spaces are like family members and friends that really do inspire me a lot. Number 1 is my parents' house, and you guys saw that in my moving video, and you've probably seen like little clips if you've watched previous videos. My dad was a house painter for most of his life, so he got to paint so many spaces and see what he liked, what he didn't like, what he was drawn to. He really got to know his own taste, I think, through his work, or at least that's how it feels when I see how he designs spaces. Luckily, the house already had some amazing features, like the blue and white tile floor in the sunroom, but my dad asked me if I thought orange would look alright in that space, and as you all know from my color theory video, orange is the opposite of blue on the color wheel, so they are complementary colors. And it looks amazing in there, especially with all the plants. The green stands out really beautifully against the orange too. Me and my dad sort of worked on it together, and it's not even finished. There's still like, we need to put baseboards in, and I told him I would help him with that whenever he wants to work on it. That room really inspires me because of the use of color. I've used that room as a backdrop for taking photos of floral work or even like self-portraits, and I think a lot of our group family photos we've taken in that room because it's just such a fun space to be in and it looks so beautiful. The next space that inspires me is my sister's home. My sister Faith, she bought our family home. We lived in Baltimore City for a few years growing up, like when we were really little, and then we all moved out to the country. So Faith bought our childhood home from my parents when they moved into the new house, which is the farmhouse that I just showed you. But the room I'll show is the living room. It looked like this most of our lives. I think my dad picked this sort of maroon color to go on the wall of the fireplace mantle. He picked a color that sort of matched some of the stones in the mantle itself. I asked Faith to take a picture of this room, so she just like took these pictures really quickly before work, and I love that you can tell she didn't like rearrange anything. She just like took the pictures, like the chairs are in like random spots. But it's very homey. This room to me is like where I spent a lot of my life, so it is very much what I think of when I think of home. But it will be really fun to go in here and help Faith to really make it into her own space, because right now it's kind of just in this sort of state of like uncertainty, and we have some plans, we have some ideas. The next home I have on here that inspires me is my sister-in-law and brother-in-law's apartment. So this is Gavin's sister, and we were there recently for a little tea party that she hosted to celebrate our new sister-in-law, Pilvi, who is marrying Gavin's brother. We just had a little tea party to kind of celebrate her with their mom as well. And their landlord was really inspired by New Mexico when he created the different spaces and when he painted. So the colors are really reminiscent of that area. And so we see a lot of oranges, yellows, teal or turquoise, really bright colors used together. It was set up really cutely because of the tea party, so extra cute in these photos. The bathroom itself too has the same wall color as the kitchen, and the tiles have the same bluish that the trim had in the kitchen. So it echoes that same design story in this room, and then it has bricks because standard Baltimore City apartment often will have exposed bricks like this in some section of the house. Even like the exposed brick wall is a piece of history. You can tell it's so old and it has so much character in it. It's really beautiful. This next space is my friend Ciara, and she owns Ritual Floral Studio, and I work with her a lot of the time. For most of my floral work is with her studio, and we've been friends for a really long time, which is awesome. But her home is also an apartment in Baltimore. It's one of those places that's really like heavy, very heavy on character. The ceilings are so tall. So this is her space, and she painted it dark green. In some of her photos that she's taken in this space, her walls look almost black, and then sometimes they look almost blue. And I asked her to take these pictures, and you can see she's very thoughtful of like mood, and you can see she lit a candle and then she blew it out for this photo because you can see the smoke is trailing away, or maybe it was incense. I love that. She's awesome. The beauty of the way she used this color is that pretty much everything in front of it is now like a lighter, brighter color. And I am obsessed with these lamps that she has with the little beads. That is so gorgeous. I don't know where she got those. That's awesome. But it's similar to the lamps that we have in our bedroom upstairs, but these ones are just so light, and like the contrast is beautiful. I really love that she leaned into this sort of like 20s Art Nouveau. It really feels like the 1800s turning into the 1900s. It's really cool. Just the contrast and the use of color, there's so much depth in the space. It feels like such a amazing space to be in, such a cool space to like sit and read in. I think I ate dinner in there one time and it was just like, you felt really like you were cocooned and like you were in this grand space, but then also you felt like cozy and like enveloped. But I love how she styled this room. It's really awesome. It's really inspiring me. This one that was sent to me is someone who lives in an apartment and they can't paint the walls. I think that's what they said. Let me check. Yeah, they really want to have green walls, but they can't. They have to keep this blue-gray color because they are renting. So they decided to create a gallery wall, and it's all of the art that they've made and collected. This room to me feels like a mysterious study where like some art happens a lot, but then also there's that like vintage study feeling where there's botanicals on the wall, there's bones and pieces of animals on the bookshelf, there's like mushrooms, there's so many little frames that have so much characteristic in each little image. This particular interior reminds me a lot of our apartment that we were in before we got this house. Like there's all like the orange slices, the pictures and prints and paintings are just covering the wall, and yeah, like so many little tapestries, and it looks like they embroider. Fellow embroiderer here. And I love that you can give your space character even if you are not allowed to paint it, and this is proof of that. All right, next home that was sent to me, I absolutely love this one. It is a bathroom. This bathroom is so cool. I absolutely love the color that they picked. So they said they hated the tile in this bathroom previously, but then after painting the bathroom their favorite color, they found that the color of that green complemented the tile a lot, made it look more intentional. And I absolutely, well, they didn't say it looks more intentional, but I'm saying that. But this green has such a contrast to the tile that you actually are more interested in the veining in the tile, and it brings in that warmth in the tiles that maybe before looked more cold. And I also really like the art piece that they have above the outlet. It looks like just a doodle from somebody's notebook that they ripped out and then they framed in a piece of glass. And I think that's awesome. I think that like an art piece like that on a really rich background color makes everything just look so much more intentional. I feel like gray and white and beige often look unintentional because now it's like the standard. It's what every landlord and seller is doing to the house. So I feel like when there is a color like this, it feels super intentional, rich, warm, and personal. I also love this other angle of it with the art piece that's on the other wall. It looks like maybe an oil painting, and it's really interesting. It looks like the background color is red and then some blue, and it looks a little bit abstracted, which I really like. That red painting against that green color, again, complementary colors, and then the white frame pops as a sharp contrast to that richness of the green. I love that they did the old wine bottle with the candle in it, with the wax dripping down. I think that's such a classy way to do a candle holder. And then the candle and the glass color together match the green of the wall. Like, it's not the exact same color, but it like the shade and the tint of that color, which I love. They're in like the same family. This next room that was sent to me, the first thing that gets me is the frog butler. He's so cute. He's standing there next to the TV, holding out a little bowl. What is in there? I can't tell what's in there, but he's holding a little basket. I wonder if they use that for like to drop their keys in or something. That would be sick. But this space, you could tell it's just like fun. Like the rug has this diamond pattern, kind of like the zigzag situation that is very energizing. And then we've got also the kind of psychedelic poof. Everyone knows if there's a disco ball, there's going to be fun happening. This is a fun space. But then the orange, I think it's called a sunlight lamp, that sort of calms the space down, or at least that's how it feels to me. It sort of like brings you in. The feeling of when you're watching a sunset is like, from what I'm seeing, the floor is one of these new, maybe engineered hardwood or LVP flooring that's very popular. And the walls are either like beige or white or maybe a gray. It's a little hard to tell with the way the light is hitting it. It feels like they've incorporated some themes from like fairy tales, like the Frog Butler, the house that's a shoe. I think they've done a good job distracting from the fact that the floors are that gray sort of engineered hardwood, and they've added a lot of character to the room, and I think it's so fun. This next one is a yellow room. Oh, this is the dining room. So they painted this room a canary yellow and hung blue linen curtains. And then they said the small piece of art is a handmade print from China, and their wife got that as a gift. And then on this other side of the wall is a piece of art that's calligraphy by an Indian artist. They got that in an exhibit in Mumbai. So they said that they are not much for staging with decor pieces, and they have ADHD and a 5-year-old, so having an uncluttered surface feels like an achievement, and I definitely understand that. There's something nice about having your things on a space set up in a way that works best for you, and it sounds like for you right now, what works best is to not have any type of thing on any surface at all. So, I mean, that works for this stage of life, and it looks good. This piece is so beautiful, the way the front texture is laid on there. I think that because the walls are yellow and the curtains are that linen bluish, and then we have that wood with all the texture, I think it works fine that there's no things on top of the surfaces of the furniture. The color in the painting then can really stand out and be the drawer of attention. Alright, this one, they said, you inspire me to embrace colorful spaces in my home. Thank you. You inspire me! So this is their currently completed guest bedroom, and they said it's a perfectly small space to experiment with bold colors, and they said they love how moody it is, and it became a cozy little den to read a book in the bed. This room is so cool. I love this room so much. You can see that the window that is a little reading nook, or just like a little nook to relax, is all the trim there is blue, and all the walls are blue or blue-green, and it looks like the bookshelf is the same color as the trim. So it's looking like everything is painted in that kind of bluish, like light bluish color, and then all the trim is like a sort of darker, deeper blue color. It doesn't create a ton of contrast, but it does create some interest and texture, which I really like. I love that this room is sort of just like red and blue, and then some contrasting colors. The light colored curtains sort of bring you into that window. It sort of like leads you in. It gets like lighter and lighter as you go to the window. The bedding matches the trim, pretty similar. I mean, I don't think it's exactly the same, but it speaks to the same color family. And then the blanket on the bed with the red and black is such a cool contrast to the blue of the rest of the room. So it does feel very much like blue and red are like the center stars of the room. I think the stripe pattern on the curtains with the stars and diagonal lines of the blanket on the bed, like those textures are what makes the room really look cozy. This next one, I will admit, I at first thought that these images were made by AI. Like, because I'm so used to seeing so many AI images on Pinterest, there's a sort of vibe. I don't know how to explain it, but there's a certain style that I see and I'm like, that's probably AI. But for a minute I was like, I was very skeptical, but then I was looking at it and I was like, well, I'm giving everyone the benefit of the doubt that you will not use AI to create fake images, that these are all real. So this person said that this is their kitchen, and then they have a little altar of family photos in like their main living space, and it's sort of like an open concept, but they said that their open living space is basically green and terracotta pink with blue and yellow ochre accents. They said that their mom is Chinese Jamaican, so they grew up with a lot of Chinese aesthetics. Everything you see in the altar space is secondhand / thrifted. The scrolls once belonged to their parents. So I really admire this space because of how like perfect it feels. I know that's like a odd word to use, but this one they're saying is an altar. It makes sense to me that there would be this perfect symmetry. So we have like the two vases with the cherry blossom branches inside. The pink is so bright and fresh, and it pops out really beautifully against that green backdrop of the wall. On the left side of this image is that blue curtain, and then on the right side that echoes back in the blue of that bookshelf. And then this is their kitchen. Maybe this person's just like really good at taking photos, because this, like the richness in the color comes across really well in this photo. It's got one of those light fixtures that I've seen these for sale online a lot. It's kind of like that tulip shape, and it's like green glass. I really love that the Roman shades on the windows are just a slightly darker color than the terracotta walls. This room to me feels super monochromatic in one theme, and then it pulls in little pops of complementary colors with the green light and the green cloths and the plants in the window. Now this next person said that their home is mostly grayish walls that predate the move, but eventually they want to redo the condo using yellow, pink, and green color scheme. I love that. They said their office is the only painted room, or is the most painted room so far. The accent wall in a mixture of Sherwin-Williams gold crest and goldfinch, and the ceiling in Sherwin-Williams resounding rose. And then you can see a little bit across the hall into the bathroom, which is Benjamin Moore's pomegranate. They also said that they learned while painting this room that it doesn't actually cost more to get a custom paint color at their hardware store, so it doesn't impact budget. And then they said also always do on-wall swatches, not just paint chips. I do not follow that rule, but I probably should start. But they said as they keep living in this space, they're gonna work slowly to replace the rest of the grayish. But they're trying to add color through art and furniture in the meantime. I wish we could see more into the pomegranate colored bathroom, because I'm very intrigued by that, and I like that they are creating that really bright yellow accent. And it's not like a whole accent wall, it's like one column almost, which I feel like is better than an accent wall, because then it feels almost like an art piece. It's like very slim and it kind of just frames the door. But I do really like the colors they chose here, and I like that it's their office, so maybe it helps them get inspired, helps keep them creative, keeps the juices flowing for whatever work they're doing in here. And then I think this is like the dining room, living room space. They said they are working towards making this room more colorful, but for now they're using furniture. The cushioned seats of the chairs are that sort of apple green color, which I think is really beautiful. And then they are starting to add in colorful art. And I think the space is really coming together nicely. I like those like dinosaur looking spoon things on top of the books. Maybe they're like ladles. And now the last one is a friend and a subscriber, because she subscribes to my channel, but we are friends. She saw my post and said, I'll send you some pictures. And I was like, yes, because her house is really colorful with the wall colors that she has chosen. They feel very classic and romantic. Here's the dining room color. She told me the color names. So she said the dining room is, I don't know how to pronounce that, Bergolus by Benjamin Moore. It's that maroon color, and it is really beautiful when the light's hitting it. I love that. My parents' bedroom is a very similar color to this. I like that with this type of color you can do really classic, minimal, sort of simple design, which makes it look modern but brings in those classic elements. So she's got the sort of minimal light colored lamp that has a lot of contrast because it's so light colored. It's like a beige, and then the candlesticks are similar color, and then the credenza that it's sitting on is black. And I would say, I think I would call this friend a minimalist, even though it's not like maybe like traditional minimalism where like it's not like wabi-sabi Japan-y kind of minimalism, but it's more of like, you know, pick a color, pick some contrast, and just have a few simple elements. I'm personally a maximalist, so when I see design like this, it is inspiring to me in terms of like decluttering or like just picking a few things, not overdoing it with how much furniture or how many things I have on a space. And then the living room is Pigeon by Farrow and Ball, and this room feels sort of like a bluish greenish gray. I feel like this is a good option if you really like gray. I think that there are a lot of people who actually do, I'm like, there's people who actually like gray. Personally, I just don't gravitate towards gray. For me, it doesn't feel like a color that I enjoy in living spaces, but I know that a lot of people do enjoy gray in living spaces, so I'm not trying to shame anybody who likes gray, but I feel like this is a nice option for the gray lovers if you want a little bit of depth in the color as well, because it has just the slightest bit of green, slightest bit of blue in it, and it has like a little bit of darkness in depth of color. And in this room I like that she has a lot of wood elements to warm it up with those two square leather poof sort of seats, and then the coffee table is just totally solid wood, and then the chairs on the left, I remember sitting in those and I was like, ooh, this is comfy, and she was like, they were so expensive. And that's it. If you missed my post, that was my first community post ever, so sorry if you didn't see it. And then I also posted on Instagram, my Instagram story. So if I do something like this again, I'll probably do the same thing where I'll do a community post and then probably an Instagram story. So you can look out for those. And in my last video about color, where I talk about the fear of color in interiors, there were some comments also of people who were a little bit like offended that I was bashing white and gray and minimalism. And I just want to say that, you know, this is my personal style, and this is just what my perspective is. And of course, if you disagree, you're allowed to. That's totally fine. But this is, I guess this content is more for those who are wanting to experiment with color and wanting to try color out in different ways and to get inspired to do so. So if that is not you, you can skip on through, you know? I'm really grateful that we can inspire each other in this community. Like, a lot of these interiors inspired me, and when a lot of you sent your messages with your photos, you told me that I inspire you, and I feel like it's just, you know, cyclical. It's just a circle of inspiration, and I'm glad to be part of that. So thank you all for sending in these photos and your messages, your kind messages and comments, and let me know if there's a type of video that you're more interested in the comments. It was really fun to look through these spaces and to see what everybody is doing. And thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
The life of Rosalind is the life for